show you how to make the base page for the backpack mini album. It's just one page style, so it's going to be a quick tutorial. I'm going to show you an option that you have when you're making yours so that yours isn't as thick of a book as mine is, but it's totally up to you and what your materials are that you have. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And my book is 4 pages. Originally it was going to be 5, but it was getting too fat, so instead of 5 pages I ended up doing 4. So for the base pages, you're going to need 4 of them at 9 by 6.5. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and do the scoring with you this time just because it is a pretty quick book that comes together real quick. So you're going to cut out 4 pieces that are 9 by 6.5. And I'm going to place the 9-inch side on my scoreboard, and I'm just going to score it right in half. So half of 9, we got 4.5. Okay, and I'm just going to fold that in half. And so we're going to have an base page that's long and thin, and so we're going to keep it open on the left hand side, and that's where we attach the hinge. Okay, so the backpack will be on the front page and the book pages are on the back. It is easier to start with the that's all for the base page too. That's it. It's easier to start with the back of the page because that's going to be, at least with mine, because I have this pocket in the front and it's thick. There's space. And so if you do this side first, then you turn it over and try and do the back, you're going to be pushing down all the time on that pocket. So I'm going to do the back side first, which is the pages that I wanted to mimic a book. Okay, so this one says math. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the back pages. Again, super easy. It's just a matter of cutting a couple pages out. I got to change all my numbers now that I ended up doing only 4 pages instead of 5. So these are my book pages, and if you're making a 4-page book, you're going to need a total of 8 of these, and these measure 5 1/4 by 6.5. Okay, and I'm going to have the 5-inch side on my scoreboard, and I'm going to score at 3/4 of an inch. Pop that baby out. Okay, so my 5 1/4 inch is along the top here, and I'm going to come over and score at 3/4. And I'm going to do that with the other piece also. 5 1/4 along the top, and I'm going to score at 3/4. That's as easy as that's going to get. Like I said, it comes together pretty quick. I'm going to score or press down on my score lines with my bone folder. Do that with both of them. Okay. Now, remember that we want the front of our base page has the opening on the left. So because these are the back pages, I'm going to turn it over so now the opening is on the right. And this is my back page, so opening on the right. And all I'm going to do is add adhesive to this 3/4 of an inch paper that we just folded over. And I'm going to use, I liked the glitter glue on this. Okay, so I've got my glue on. I'm going to turn this sideways just because it's easier for me to line it up. And I'm going to place that on the very edge of my book. And I'm going to line it up to make sure that I don't have anything off. I'm going to press down. I'm going to open my book, make sure that I don't have any excess glue, and if I do, I need to get rid of it. Okay. I'm going to take my bone folder and just make sure it's on there real good. Okay, so there's page 1, and now I'm going to do the same thing with the second piece. I'm going to put my adhesive on the strip here, and I'm going to glue it down right on top of that other one. Glitter glue. I'm going to turn it sideways just so it's easier for me to put on. Line it up at the very edge. I'm going to kind of make sure I don't have anything off here. Good. And I'm going to press down. Then I'm going to open my book and make sure that this hinge, or not hinge, this flap here is down real good. So I just take my bone folder and make sure that I'm giving it a good press. Okay. Go ahead and do that on the front, or on the side too. So there's our back page. You open it up and you have like your little booklet. Okay, that's the back. We're done. Easy, easy. So now we're going to turn it back over where we had the opening of the base page on the left. And now we're going to do our backpack pages. So I'm going to move this side and show you what you need for the backpack. We're going to start with the base, the bottom of the backpack, and cross that off and put a 4. You're going to need 4 pieces at 6 7/8 by 7.5. And this measurement is for this part, this base of the backpack, okay? So 6 7/8 by 7.5. And on the, let's do our scoring. So on the 7.5 inch side, on the 7.5 inch side at the top, we're going to do a score at 1/2, at 1, and at 1.5. I'm going to flip my paper around, still with 7.5 inches at the top, and do the same thing. Score at 1/2, score at 1, and score at 1.5. Okay, so you have the same on each side. Now I'm going to turn it so that my 6 7/8 side is along the top, and I'm going to score at 1/2. So this is what it looks like when you're done. And you will do that 4 times for 4 pages. So I'm going to go ahead and burnish my score lines. And on this one, because this is going to be my hinge for the side pocket of the backpack, I'm going to go forward on my score line. You know, like you're supposed to have that bump on the inside. Well, on the second one, I'm going to go ahead and flip it and do burnish it on the opposite side. And then I'm going to go back to the third one and fold to the inside. And it'll make sense when I'm done. But so you have this at the end, so that it's going to be like an accordion to make it open a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to do that on the other side. Start with my first score line, fold it in, and burnish. The other one, I'm going to go to the outside. So it's every other one. And then the last one, I'm going to go back to the inside. Okay, so you can see how it's already starting to come together as an accordion pocket. Okay, now we do need to get rid of some paper down here. So with my scissors, I'm going to cut at an angle where we did the 1/2 inch score. I'm going to cut at an angle and then cut off these 3 little squares. So I'm going to turn it sideways. I'm going to cut just above that ridge and take that out. So it looks like this. Do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to, at an angle, cut up to the score line on the 1/2 inch side. I'm going to turn it sideways and get rid of those little 3 squares. And so it looks like this when you're done. Okay. And we're going to end up folding everything in, and that's going to be the base of our backpack. And I need to adjust a little bit here because when I fold this I can see that back hinge, so I need to burnish that so that it goes more on the inside I don't want you to see that hinge when it's in the book. And that's all I had to do, was just kind of give it a different burnish so that I had it lined up better. Okay, I'm going to put this piece to the side. That's the bottom of our backpack. Let's do the top flap, okay, of the backpack. And you're going to need 4 of these, and these measure 4 by 4.5. Okay, and actually I did just a hair shorter than 4.5 because the book is 4.5 across. So if you do it exactly at 4.5, you're going to have some overhang by the time you turn the pages. So I did a hair shorter than maybe 4 3/8. I don't know. 4 7/16. Just a hair shorter than 4.5. That's what I did. So then on the 4-inch side, and I already did this one for some reason. There's my air conditioner. On the 4-inch side, you're going to score at 2 inches and 2.5 inches. Okay, so have your 4-inch side on the top of your scoreboard. Score at 2 and 2.25. I'm going to go ahead and fold on those score lines and burnish. Okay. And so you'll see that there's just a little bit of a, well, there's a 1/4 inch difference. I want the longer side on top to be my flap to the backpack. I'm going to go ahead and round my corners. Okay. So what we just made was this top flap, and we've made this base of the backpack. So we still have the pocket. Alright, so I like to adhere then, get my base page back out with the opening on the left, and we're going to place this on top of our base page. Okay, now if you want, now would be a good time to make a little bit of a, I do a half circle, so that when you put something in your backpack, you can easily pull it out if you have that. So I just take my circle punch and do a half circle. Okay, so I am going to use, I can still see a little bit of this, hold on. I'll just use the art glitter glue. So I'm going to put glue on these 2 flaps and on the bottom flap. And this is good if you have clothespins. I don't have them handy right here. And I've already made my pages, so this is just a sample anyway, so I don't have to be perfect. Okay, so I'm going to push those 2 down and then put the bottom up, put adhesive. Okay, and I'm going to line this up at the bottom. Make sure that it lines up on each side, and perfect. Okay, so there is our pocket for the backpack. Now the reason, I'm going to go ahead and put the top flap on, and I'm going to open up where it's going to attach to the hinge, and I'm going to actually glue it to the back page. I'm going to glue it to the back, and then it will come over the top. So I'm going to open it up. This is where it's going to attach to the hinge, and I'm going to glue it onto that back piece. So I'm going to put adhesive just right here on this rectangular part. So my backpack is on this page. I'm adhering the lid or the top of the backpack on this left-hand side, lining it up. Make sure that that looks all right. Yep, it works fine. So I'm going to make sure this is pressed down real good. And there we have the flap and our base. Now, I would stop here and start adding my decorative paper, and the last thing you want to do is this pocket, because you want to put your base paper down so that you don't have to cut out a weird shape around your pocket. So you're going to want to cover your base pages. Let's see, I had some cut out to show you. Yeah. So I, ruler, there it is. This matte paper that I used on the backpack is 4 1/4 by 6 1/8. Okay. And I would glue this down. Oh, I'll just do it and show you. Got glue on here. And I try not to get glue in that top center because that's where my hole is up here. My circular punch was. Okay. And so now I'm going to punch out, I'm going to place my punch inside of that pocket and line it up with the punch that was already there. So it's inside of the pocket. And now you have that punched out. Okay. Now I closed this with a magnet, and instead of putting the magnet underneath the paper here, I put my magnet on the inside, down inside of the pocket. And then I put a magnet here, and we'll cover that with matte paper or our decorative paper. So you're going to have a magnet here on this top flap, and what I did was I put the magnet behind here first, and then I matched up the top piece and saw where it landed. Does that make sense? So I placed one of my magnets underneath here, took the other side and let it stick, and then I adhered it to the top. Now you don't have to adhere it with a magnet. You can make some sort of something to look like a backpack strap, like having a piece of paper, a rectangular piece, and then have a little rectangular piece here going the opposite direction where you put that underneath like a flap. This is a lame example, but so you could have like a strap, a skinny piece of paper come down that would come, let me cut this. I just thought of this real quick, so I'll just show you. I'm not even measuring, I'm just cutting so you can get a visual. So you could attach a rectangular piece of paper to your flap and then have this piece glued down here just on the sides so that you can tuck this underneath of that paper if you don't have magnets. Okay, so that's an idea. Alright, so then once I have the magnet here and on the inside of my pocket, I can go ahead and add my paper. So I would add this one. You're going to need 2 of these for each backpack, and they measure 4 1/4 by about 1 7/8. Rounded the corners. Use your distress ink if you want, and adhere those. Okay, and 2 for each. Then you're going to need, I have black ribbon and I cut it to about 5 inches long, and we're going to make that look like the top of the backpack. See how I have that on the top of the backpack? To adhere that, it goes on the, how do I want to show you this? Okay, so this is the front. If I turn the page over, I want to add my string or my ribbon to the inside like this. So let me just glue, put 2 little lines of glue there, and I'll just hold it down. Yep, clothespins, you could do it that way. Okay, and then this is going to end up getting paper covered it, so you won't even see it. Okay, and you can see that it shows over here. Boy, there's a dark bad shadow. Okay, now next I would put my papers on the back pages, and those measure 4 1/4 by 6, and I did about 6 3/8, and I went ahead and distressed around the edges, and you're just going to adhere each of those down. Okay, so you're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, okay, at that measurement, and you glue them down. So for each page you need 5 of these, and again it measured 4 1/4 by about 6 3/8. Went ahead and put my distress ink around, and I would just glue them down. After you've glued those pages, the mats, all of the paper is in, and you have all of your pages done, then I would go back and put this front pocket on. Let's pretend like this is done. Okay, it's time for the front pocket. Now, you might have to do something different than what I did. I happen to have a die from Stampin' Up! From a long time ago that I used, and it is called the scallop envelope. And so I used that for my pocket, and I needed 2 for each page. You can do a regular pocket where you cut out a piece of paper and score a 1/2 inch on 3 sides, and you would have a flat pocket. I wanted mine to have dimension and some thickness, so I could actually put something inside of here. So I'm going to be putting things that stick out. Okay, so that's why I did that. If you don't have this die, you can make a flat pocket. And again, you would measure how far across you wanted it and how far down, and then add a 1/2 inch to those sides, and then score a 1/2 inch on those 3. Okay, so you can make a regular pocket with a rectangle, score 1/2 inch on 3 sides, and fold it, and then you have a flat pocket. If you happen to have this die, let me show you how I made that pocket. And let me find, where did I put, there they are. Okay, so this is what it looks like when you, if you have the die. And on one of them, well, on both of them, you're going to cut so that this is only a 1/2 inch. So I just took my ruler and made a mark at a 1/2. Took my ruler, measured from that score line at a 1/2. And put it in my trimmer. And cut off that bottom piece. Okay, line it up where I put the tick mark. And cut off that extra piece. Okay. I'm going to actually angle these just a hair. Okay, and I can go ahead and burnish on the score marks that are already made from putting them in the die. Okay. And on this one, instead of folding the flap back, I'm going to fold it to the front. And that is how I got that flap right here, and then I glued a button on. Okay. So on the other piece, once we've cut off the bottom, angle that just a hair more, I'm going to actually cut off this piece. Don't need it. Okay, so I'll burnish these score lines. And we're going to attach them so that it makes a little pocket box. Like that. Okay, so I'm going to add adhesive on the one side that I cut off the top, and I'm going to attach that to my front piece. Hold it for a minute. And then I'll put adhesive on the bottom of one of these and bring that over and set that on top. And I'm actually going to take my bone folder and just kind of make sure it sticks. And then we have one more side. And I'm going to go ahead and put my bone folder in there. Okay, so that's how I did my pocket. Now you would want to mat this first before you glue the flap down and put a button on it, but I actually covered the sides too. So that is how I got the front pocket. I had that die. Let's see, this measures, when it's done, about 3 1/4 wide and a 2 1/4 tall. So if you wanted to do a flat pocket, so the finished one was 3 1/4 by 2 1/4. So if you added a 1/2 inch to each side, that would be, you need to cut a piece of paper that's 4 1/4 by, you just need to add a 1/2 onto this one, that would be 2 3/4. So if you wanted to make a flat pocket, you would need 4 1/4 by 2 3/4 and then score on 3 sides to make a pocket. So let's pretend this is 4 1/4 by 2 3/4. I would score 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch here, and fold them back and make my pocket. Okay, that's what you could do if you don't have this. And then after I've matted this with paper and glued this flap down and put my button on, I would glue that to the front, just like so. And that's all there is to the pages. That's it. Super fast and super easy. I will come back and show you how to do the hinge. I did a different measurement with my hinges just so that my pages would lay better, and I needed more of a gusset for mine because of the thickness of this pocket. So you might have to adjust the measurements of your spine based off of whether you had a dimensional front pocket or if you had a flat pocket. Okay, because my binding on the hinge, not the hinge, my spine is the word I'm looking for, is 4 inches. So yours might not need to be that big. Okay, so I'm going to get organized and I'll be back.